The Hiding Place. Chapter 9. The Raid. It was the morning of February 28th, 1944. For 2 days I had been in bed with influenza. My head throbbed, my joints were on fire, and I drifted in and out of feverish sleep. Suddenly Betsy was standing at the foot of the bed. "I'm sorry to wake you, Corrie, but there's a man down in the shop who insists he will talk only to you." "Who is he?" "I've never seen him before." I sat up shakily. "That's all right. I have to get up anyway." I struggled to my feet. There by the bed lay my prison bag, packed and ready as it had been since the summons from the chief of police. Besides the Bible, clothing, and toilet things, it now held vitamins, aspirin, and much else. It had become a kind of safety for me against the terrors of prison. I got slowly into my clothes and stepped out onto the landing. The house seemed to reel around me. As I crept downstairs, clinging to the handrail, I was surprised to hear voices. I looked into Tante rooms. I had forgotten people were gathering for Willem's weekly service. Peter was at the piano. I continued down around the stairs, passing new arrivals streaming up. As I arrived in the shop, a sandy-haired man sprang forward. "Miss Ten Boom." Yes, there was an old Dutch expression. You can tell a man by the way he meets your eyes. This man seemed to concentrate somewhere between my nose and my chin. "Is it about a watch?" I asked. "No, Miss Ten Boom." His eyes seemed to make a circle around my face. "My wife has been arrested. We've been hiding Jews. If she is questioned, all of our lives are in danger." "I don't know how I can help," I said. "I need 600 guilders. There's a policeman at the station who can be bribed for that amount. I'm a poor man, and I've been told you have certain contacts." "Contacts?" "Miss Ten Boom. It's a matter of life and death. If I don't get it right away, she'll be taken to Amsterdam, and then it will be too late." Something about the man's behavior made me hesitate. And yet, how could I risk being wrong? "Come back in half an hour." "I'll have the money," I said. For the first time, the man's eyes met mine. The amount was more than we had at the beach, so I sent Toots to the bank and struggled back up the stairs. Where earlier I had been burning with fever, now I was shaking with cold. In my room, I undressed, refilled the vaporizer, and climbed back into bed. Soon I was asleep. In my fevered dream, a buzzer kept ringing. On and on it went. Feet were running, voices whispering. "Hurry! Hurry!" I sat bolt upright. People were running past my bed. I turned in time to see Thea's heels disappear through the low door. Meta was behind her, then Hank. Yuzi dashed past me, his pipe rattling in the ashtray that he carried in shaking hands. At last it penetrated my brain that the emergency had come. I counted the people crawling into the secret room. But where is Mary? She appeared in the bedroom door, mouth open, gasping for air. I sprang from my bed and pulled her across the room. I was sliding the secret panel down behind her when a slim white-haired man burst into the room. I recognized him from Pickwick's, someone high in the National Resistance. I had had no idea he was in the house. He dived after Mary. The man's legs vanished and I dropped the panel down. I pushed my prison bag up against the panel. Below, I heard doors slamming, heavy footsteps on the stairs. But it was another sound that turned my blood to water, the rasp of Mary's breathing. "Lord Jesus," I prayed, "you have the power to heal. Heal Mary now." I had just gotten in bed again when the bedroom door flew open. "What's your name?" I sat up slowly. "What?" "Your name." "Cornelia Ten Boom." The man wore an ordinary business suit. He turned and shouted down the stairs, "We've got one more up here, Willems." He turned back to me. "Get up. Get dressed." As I crawled out from under the covers, the man took a slip of paper from his pocket and consulted it. "So you're the ringleader." He looked at me with new interest. "Where are you hiding the Jews?" "I don't know what you're talking about." The man laughed. "And you don't know anything about an underground ring either. We'll see about that." He had not taken his eyes off me, so I began to pull on my clothes over my pajamas, ears straining for a sound from the secret room. "Let me see your papers." I pulled out the little sack that I wore around my neck. The man took my papers and looked at them. For a moment, the room was silent. Mary Italy's wheeze. Why wasn't I hearing it? The man threw the papers back at me. Hurry up. He was not in half the hurry I was to get away from that room. I buttoned my sweater wrong in my haste and stuffed my feet into my shoes without bothering to tie them. I was about to reach for my prison bag. It stood where I had shoved it in my panic, directly in front of the secret panel. I could not reach down under the shelf to get it, not with this man watching my every move. It was the hardest thing I had ever done to walk out of that room, leaving the bag behind. I stumbled down the stairs, my knees shaking. A soldier was stationed in front of Tantyon's rooms. The door was shut. I wondered if the prayer meeting had ended, if Willem and Noli and Peter had gotten away. Or were they all still in there? How many innocent people might be involved? The man behind me gave me a little push, and I hurried on down the stairs to the dining room. Father, Betsy, and Toos were sitting on chairs pulled back against the wall. Beside them sat 3 underground workers who must have arrived since I had gone upstairs. On the floor beneath the window, broken in 3 pieces, lay the Alpina sign. Someone had managed to knock it from the sill. A second Gestapo agent in plain clothes was pawing through a pile of silver and jewelry heaped on the dining room table. The space behind the corner cupboard had been indeed the first place they looked. Here's the other one, said the man who had brought me down. My information says she's the leader of the whole outfit. The man at the table, the one called Willems, glanced at me, then turned back to the loot in front of him. You know what to do, Captain. Captain seized me by the elbow and shoved me ahead of him down the remaining 5 steps and into the rear of the shop. Another soldier in uniform stood guard inside this door. Captain prodded me through to the front room and pushed me against the wall. Where are the Jews? There aren't any Jews here. The man struck me hard across the face. Where do you hide the ration cards? I don't know what you're. Captain hit me again. I staggered up against the wall. Before I could recover, he slapped me again, then again and again, stinging blows that jerked my head backward. Where are the Jews? Another blow. Where's your secret room? I tasted blood in my mouth. My head spun, my ears rang. Lord Jesus, I cried out, protect me. Captain's hand stopped in midair. His arm slowly dropped to his side. If you won't talk, that skinny one will. I stumbled ahead of him back up the stairs. He pushed me into one of the chairs against the dining room wall. Through a blur, I saw him lead Betsy from the room. Above us, hammer blows and splintering wood showed where a squad of train searchers was probing for the secret room. Then down in the alley, the doorbell rang. But did they not see the Alpina sign was gone? I glanced at the window. There on the sill, the broken pieces fitted carefully together, sat the wooden triangle. I looked up to see Willem staring at me. I thought so, he said. It was a signal. He ran down the stairs. I heard the alley door open and Willem's smooth voice. Come in, won't you? Have you heard? A woman's voice. They've got Herman. Not Pickwick. Oh! I heard Willem say. Who was with him? He pumped her for information, then placed her under arrest. Blinking with fright, the woman was seated with us along the wall. I recognized her only as a person who occasionally took messages for us about the city. I stared in anguish at the sign in the window announcing to the world that all was as usual at the beach. Our home had been turned into a trap. How many more would fall into it before this day was over? Captain appeared with Betsy in the dining room door. Her lips were swollen and puffy, a bruise darkening on her cheek. She half fell into the chair next to mine. 2 men were clumping down the stairs carrying something. They had discovered the old radio beneath the stairs. Law-abiding citizens, are you? Captain went on. You, old man there. I see you believe in the Bible. He jerked his thumb at the well-worn book on its shelf. What does it say in there about obeying the government? Fear God, Father quoted, and on his lips the words came as blessing and reassurance. Fear God and honor the Queen. Captain stared at him. The Bible doesn't say that. No, Father admitted. It says, "Fear God and honor the king." In our case, that is the queen. "We're the government now," roared Captain, "and you're all lawbreakers." The doorbell rang. Again there were questions and an arrest. It seemed to me that we had never had so many callers. At least, from the banging and thumping above, they had not discovered the secret room. A new sound made me jump. The phone down in the hall was ringing. Willems grabbed me by the wrist and yanked me down the stairs behind him. He thrust the receiver up against my ear, but kept his hand on it. "Answer," he hissed. "This is the 10 Boom residence and shop," I said stiffly. The person on the other end did not catch the strangeness in my voice. "Miss 10 Boom, you're in terrible danger. They've arrested Herman Slurring. They know everything." On and on she babbled, the man at my side hearing everything. She had scarcely hung up when the phone rang again. A man's voice, and again the message, Herman's been taken to the police station. That means they're onto everything." At last, the third time I repeated my formal and not typical greeting, there was a click on the other end and the line went dead. Willem shoved me back up the stairs and into my chair. "Our friend's wised up," he told Captain. But I heard enough. A man appeared in the doorway. "We've searched the whole place, Willems," he said. "If there's a secret room here, the devil himself built it." Willems looked from Betsy to father to me. "There's a secret room," he said. "And people are using it. We'll set a guard around the house till they've turned to mummies." It had been half an hour since the doorbell had rung last. Word was out, no one else would walk into the trap at the beach. Apparently Willems had come to the same conclusion because abruptly he ordered us on our feet and down to the hallway with our coats and hats. Father, Betsy, and me he held in the dining room till last. In front of us down the stairs came the people from Tantyon's rooms. I held my breath scanning them. Apparently most of those at the prayer service had left before the raid. But here came Noli, Peter, and Willem. The whole family. Father, all 4 of his children, 1 grandchild. Captain gave me a shove. "Get moving." Father took his hat from the wall peg. Outside the dining room door, he paused to pull up the weights on the old Frisian clock. "We mustn't let the clock run down," he said. "Father, do you really think we will be back home when next the chain runs out?" We marched through the alley and into the Smedestrat. By the time we got inside the police station, I was shaking with cold. We were herded along a corridor and into a large room that had been a gymnasium. A desk stood in the center with a German army officer seated behind it. Tumbling mats had been spread out to cover part of the floor, and I collapsed onto one of them. For 2 hours, the officer took down names, addresses, and other statistics. I counted 35 people who were arrested from the raid on the beach. People from previous arrests were sitting or lying about on the mats, too, some of them faces we knew. I looked for Pickwick, but he was not among them. At last the officer left. For the first time since the alarm buzzer sounded, we could talk among ourselves. I soon fell into a fitful sleep, but was waked by the heavy door of the gym slamming open. In strode Rolf. "Let's have it quiet in here," he shouted. "Toilets are out back," he continued in a loud voice. "You can go one at a time under escort." Beside the row of outdoor toilets was a basin with a tin cup on a chain. Gratefully, I took a long drink, the first since morning. Toward evening, a policeman carried into the gym a large basket of fresh hot rolls. I could not swallow mine. In the evening, a group gathered around Father for prayers. Every day of my life had ended like this, that deep, steady voice, entrusting us all to the care of God. His blue eyes seemed to be seeing beyond the locked and crowded room, beyond Harlem, beyond Earth itself, as he quoted from memory, "Thou art my hiding place and my shield. I hope in thy word. Hold thou me up, and I shall be safe." None of us slept much. In the morning, the police again brought rolls. I dozed with my back up against the wall. The worst pain now seemed to be in my chest. It was noon when soldiers entered the room and ordered us on our feet. We struggled into our coats and filed again through the cold corridors. In the Smedestrat, a wall of people pressed against police barricades set across the street. As Betsy and I stepped out with father between us, a murmur of horror greeted the sight of Harlem's grand old man being led to prison. In front of the door stood a bus with soldiers occupying the rear seats. People climbed aboard while friends and relatives in the crowd wept or simply stared. Betsy and I gripped father's arms to start down the steps. Then we froze. Stumbling past us between two soldiers, hatless and coatless, came Pickwick. The top of his bald head was a welter of bruises. He did not look up as he was hauled onto the bus. Father, Betsy, and I squeezed into a double seat near the front. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of Tyne standing in the crowd. The bus shuddered and started up. Police cleared a path and we inched forward. I gazed out the window, holding on to Harlem with my eyes. Now we were crossing the Groat Market. Then I recalled. The vision. I had seen it all. Willem, Nolly, Pickwick, Peter, all of us here, drawn against our wills across the square. It had been in the dream, all of us leaving Harlem, unable to turn back. Going where?